Ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to the Bellona Pavilion at COP27. This program today will be an introduction about the Sahara Forest Project in Jordan. You will hear the green desert platform being launched, and you will hear from distinguished guests and speakers here in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt. But with me today, I have my dear Jordanian friend and colleague, Jassar Al-Tahat. The Sahara Forest Project in Jordan is a truly Norwegian-Jordanian collaboration. And Jassar, why don't you tell the audience here and the people watching online, what are we going to do for the next steps at this event?
Well, thank you, dear Magnus. Welcome, everybody. My name is Jassar Tahat, as my dear friend just said. I am a journalist from Jordan, the proud home of the SFP facility down south in Aqaba. And I've been working with this fine team since 2017. And today we're going to talk about the journey of SFP, some technicalities, and we're going to dive a bit deep down to the future and how we're going to proceed. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome a friend and the managing director of Sahara Forest Project, Mr. Ketil Stack, who's been working on the SFP since 2019 up until now. And I must say that he was quite patient and persistent to make this a reality as we see today in Aqaba. He was the one who took this from a PowerPoint to an actual action on the ground. So I'll give the floor to you, Ketil, and take it from there, my friend.
Thank you very much, Jassar. Yes, it's been quite a journey, 10 years in the making. First of all, let's remind ourselves why we are here. There is no doubt we need to change the way we produce food on this planet. 70% of all freshwater use goes to food production. More than a third of all CO2 emissions comes as a result of our food production. And agriculture is the biggest driver for desertification. Now that's the setting, that's why we are here, that's why we do the Sahara Forest Project. Knowing that we need to increase food production by 70% in just a couple decades from now, we know that we need to make a change and we need to do it now. I wanted to show you a few photos for what we do in Jordan before we come to the juicy part, which is the launch of the Green Desert Platform. Now we built two facilities, one in Qatar showing a wide range of technologies and how they can all be interconnected in a saltwater infrastructure. And we have our facility here in Jordan where we have shown the commercial viability of the project. Now this is really all about bringing together proven environmental technologies in a new way. What you see here are solar power connected with reverse osmosis desalination and saltwater cooling technologies for the greenhouses. We have innovative greenhouse facilities, and what is interesting here is also the very digital concept of doing modern farming, climate-smart agriculture. In this project, we used 1/10 of the water compared to traditional agriculture. We do all of this while at the same time we store carbon in the soil in and around in biomass outside the facility. And the vegetables that you see here, brought directly from Aqaba, the goal is that these vegetables, the more of these vegetables you eat, the less CO2 there is in the atmosphere, because we are a truly carbon negative solution. We're ready to scale up. We have plans for scaling up both in Jordan, in Tunisia, and we're also planning for scale up here in Egypt. It's important for us that we scale up in a way that allows for a triple bottom line, meaning that it's good for the investors, it's good for the environment, and it's good for social inclusion and social development. And that's why we have a designated training program for women at our facility. We've trained 70 women and Syrian refugees in climate-smart agriculture, and we'll increase that number with 100 for the next 6 months. Rounding off, I just wanted to say that we're proud to be included in the latest IPCC report. as a solution for agriculture and how agriculture actually can contribute to meet the 1.5 degree target. And we are included here because we do produce food, water, and energy, but also because we provide a solution for storing carbon in the soil while producing vegetables. And that is really what we will talk about now. I'm really pleased to introduce a good colleague from the Bellona Foundation, Benjamin Kleppe, a biotech specialist, to show us more about the Green Desert platform and our plans for scale up also when it comes to biomass in Jordan.
Thank you, Kjetil. Thanks for the introduction. Thanks for the introduction, and thanks for the opportunity to work with SFP. It's very fun, basically, to work with these technologies, proven technologies, and needed technologies for the future. So I'll give you the kind of brief overhead of GDP, what the Green Desert Platform is and will be. And also I'll present the first kind of work that's been done in preparation for the scale-up project. So GDP, in short, the end goal here is to produce a framework or kind of a recipe for the revegetation of coastal deserts. The key resources here are seawater and organic waste. Waste will be turned into soil amendment through various technologies. I'll come back to them. And our main focus is soil and soil quality. So the soil is our most precious resource here, and we'll work to continuously improve soil health, soil quality. This is a nice schematic showing the kind of natural way of revegetation. Plants grow somewhere, plant litter falls to the ground, they turn into soil after a while. After a time, you'll be able to introduce the next, firstly you introduce plants which are able to grow in the present conditions, so tolerate harsh sunlight, stabilizing dunes and so forth. And then you can start ramping up the production as the soil increase and as the conditions are bettered, basically. Yeah. So this process can take many years, can take decades, but the accelerate part, which we talk about, is through water, artificial watering. We are using desalinated seawater to improve basically conditions for the plants. And we're also contributing with soil amendments such as compost and biochar, which contribute with nutrients, suitable structures for plant growth, and also water retention capacity, especially biochar. So it acts kind of as a sponge in the ground, soaking up water and then releasing it to the roots. All right, since SFP started, they've trialed lots of different plants. Some have done well, some not. We received a list of 8 plants which were chosen because they did especially well. And Bellona have assessed their potential for the use in the scale-up GDP project. So I'll go through the list. This is, by the way, a photo from SFP in Jordan. This is in the middle of the desert. It's cool. So for our pioneer species, this species we recommend being introduced from the start in large scale. Saltbush. This is native. It's grown naturally in Jordan. We know it's adaptable. We know it will survive. We know it will thrive, stabilizing the soil, etc., etc. The tamarisk species is also widespread throughout Jordan. It's also present at our site. We know it survives. It's a suitable species. It grows fast. It's very dense. It's windbreak, so it shelters the other vegetation from the harsh conditions in the desert. And lastly, of the pioneer species is the thorn tree. This one is also native. It's already present at site. It thrives there. And it's also a nitrogen fixer. So it's able to pull nitrogen out of the air, putting it into the ground, fertilizing itself, and fertilizing the surrounding plants. So these 3 species we recommend starting with and introducing throughout the whole area for, as the pioneer species for beginning the soil building. Next up, we have the argan tree. If you've been to Morocco and seen the goats foraging in the trees, this is the tree. It grows kind of slow, and but we know it grows. We want it for diversity purposes. The more, the better. But there are some, there's lack of knowledge about the conditions required for this plant to grow, basically. So we recommend caution here. Trial introduction, basically. So not going all out with this plant without being sure it will thrive and produce fruit and so forth. And then we have the prickly pear. At the facility in Jordan, there are multiple of these. The ones being sheltered are doing quite well, while the ones exposed are doing worse. So these ones need some kind of shelter. The main point here is that these require humidity and are not able to tolerate very long drought periods. So my thought here is to distribute these ones throughout the area and use the plants as as indicators to monitor the conditions present. So if one grows fine over here, we know that this area is good. We might be able to introduce more species. While if another one does poorly, we know that we have work to do in this area. So these are recommended for trial. And then lastly, we have two trees. One is the river tamarind. Very popular agroforestry tree, grows fast, produces a lot of biomass and valuable products, also fixes nitrogen. I'll include moringa here as well. It grows even faster, produces even more suitable products, and is very, very popular. But both trees here are very thirsty, basically. They demand a lot of water. And as we want to be efficient with our water use, we recommend waiting until the soil has a suitable or improved water retention capability to not waste our water. So, lastly, we have the mesquite. This seems like the perfect species. It's able to grow everywhere. It's been introduced everywhere due to its amazing ability to grow everywhere. But it's also able to suppress native vegetation and spread out beyond bounds. It's characterized as one of the worst invasive species throughout the world, so it's highly likely to become dominant within the GDP grounds. It's also highly likely to escape our grounds and make problems elsewhere. So that was the plant. And as someone who's been immersed in the science in this topic for quite the time now, I think this is a gold mine, basically. GDP can be a gold mine for academics, for specialist communities within technology development and so forth. There is very little available information here, and we need more. I hope we can produce more and produce a reliable framework for revegetation of other areas. Thank you.
Well, thank you, dear Benjamin, for that introduction to the Green Desert Platform. Such a technically sound and thorough presentation. My next guest, Frederick Hojer. He founded Bellona back in 1986 at the age of 20. And since then, for the past 3 decades, Bellona has been setting the public opinion and the policy, environmental policies in Norway. In 2007, he was elected vice chairman of the European Commission's technology for CO2. And on the same year, he was named by Time magazine as Hero of the Environment. In 2009, Mr. Hojer became a board member of the EU Biofuel Platform and became one of the founding partners of the Sahara Forest Project. An absolute honor, sir. And I have the pleasure to give you the stage. Go ahead.
Thank you. And what we're talking about here is a crucial solution. When we are going to combat climate change, we need to do that in a way that we are not conflicting with the use of fresh water, biodiversity, and other food production. The Sahara Forest Project is an answer to this, and we use what we have enough of: sun, CO2, desert, to produce what we need more of: food, water, and biodiversity, and stored carbon. It takes time to develop new concepts, and we have now been working with Sahara Forest Project close to 13 years since we developed the concept, and now we are ready to scale up. And there's enough people talking small thoughts on environmental issues, but the challenge is rather big, so we need to think big. And you see the illustrations here. We are now on the track in Jordan to scale up, but we also are so sure now about the technology and the biology that we would like to scale up other places. And this is one of the reasons we are here at COP, is to also find new partners to work together with. The need for biomass, the need for food is enormous, and extremely many different companies says, oh, we're going to use biofuel or we're going to use biomass as the part of the solution. But it's going to be extremely conflicting if we don't find new ways of producing biomass. And that's why Bellona is very proud of Sahara Forest Project. We are supporting with the Green Desert Platform because we think that the seawater greenhouses have reached a stage now, so we can go further more commercially, but we need to have more input, more knowledge on how to do the reforestation of the desert. I'm not sure if you call it a desert when it becomes green. That's a more theoretical discussion we need to take internally. But what we have proven here in Jordan shows that it's possible. And when it's possible, we have to do it, because this is the kind of solutions that the world needs. We think that for Africa, for the MENA region, for California, other places in Asia, this could be a huge part of the solution. To bind CO2 in biomass is also extremely important to have the accountants right. What is the difference between reducing CO2 emissions, removing them, and so on? And with the Green Desert Platform, we also try to establish more facts to do the estimations and get the experience, so we can be more sure on the whole LCA life cycle assessments on this project. In a world where problems is always focused at, and it's good reasons for that, we need to show solutions, and we need to enable developing countries with possibilities to sell and export and get income, not only aid. And for me, this is crucial. This is a way to be able to build large-scale solar plants, independent if you have a local contract on that electricity. With Sahara Forest Project, you can store that electricity in biomass, and you have the whole world as a market. So I'm extremely pleased to be a partner of this, and it's inspired me to go on the next 35 years too. Thank you.
Thank you, Frederick. My next guest is Professor Dan Cameron. He's a professor of sustainability at the University of California, Berkeley. He has served at the World Bank as Chief Technical Specialist for Renewable Energy and as Science Envoy during the Obama administration. Mr. Cameron has been coordinating lead author of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change since 1999. Mr. Cameron, the stage is yours.
Well, my thanks, and you've heard already, I think, the critical message, and that is this is an integration of clean energy, of clean water, of jobs, of gender empowerment, of local food production, of export potential to markets around the world. That's a huge amount to pull together, but that's what you get by thinking about the system level solutions, not just the individual technologies. What's happening here with the Sahara Forest Project starts with the dramatic cost declines of solar, but it moves through this value chain, water, food, jobs, etc. And I think that's really the critical part. And that's why at this point, with one critical pilot plant in Aqaba in Jordan, this project is now ready to learn the lessons from its own evolution, but also to become a major player in the ways that Frederick just described in meeting these variety of demands. So let me illustrate that a little bit. The first version is a pilot scale project. During the time that the Sahara Forest Project was designed and is now in operation, the price of solar panels has dropped by 90%. That's a great start. That's because of technological learning. But that's not even the part that's the most critical here. We now have emerging technologies of transparent solar panels. So the roof and the walls of the buildings can themselves both transmit light and can also serve their jobs as walls. That wasn't possible when this project began. We've now seen the rise of agrivoltaics, meaning semi-transparent solar that can shade the different plants on site. You start to take that whole package together, and what you have is a clean energy driven wedge, an opportunity to make many of what we want to see happen both at the local scale, feeding local communities, providing fresh drinkable water, water for agriculture out of the desert site, but then also the ability to take this project as a commercial opportunity for the residents. The fact that you can grow high-valued agricultural products demanded in Europe, in the United States, in Japan, and elsewhere, after you meet local food demands, is the kind of integration that this project is about. The next phase of this project is to work in the partnerships that each of the people described already. And that is to work through the opportunities to use the Aqaba site for training and also to scale to additional sites, whether it's in Egypt or other countries that are interested to learn from this model going forward. And so when you see the kinds of fruits and vegetables that can be grown, the ability to adapt to additional needs, to think about perhaps doing protein on site, to do vegetables, to make this a training hub for gender equity, to target underrepresented minority communities so they can be on the forefront of job production, food production, water production. That's really what you get by looking at this overall project. Here at COP27, we've already seen the first critical launching efforts in what is one of the many frontier areas. And that is the African governments, led by Kenya, Malawi, and Egypt and others, have said they are going to launch a carbon market facility to trade in sustainable carbon permits. That's precisely the kind of Africa-based organization that needs to invest in projects like this. They need to find opportunities to invest in indigenous efforts that provide not just carbon sequestration, that's the start, that's not the end, but through carbon-based projects, there's now an ability to multiply the financial gains and the job gains of these efforts. And I think that's really what's so exciting, because as we look at traditional agriculture around the world, but particularly in Africa, it is driven largely by women. Commercial export agriculture is driven around the world largely by men. The kind of projects we're seeing in the Sahara Forest Project are one that takes the indigenous community-based agriculture, women-dominated, and makes that an export commodity, bringing jobs, equity, education, justice all to the scene. That's really the kind of learning that you get in what the Sahara Project has launched on. testing, adapting its pilot facility, and now ready to scale to these much larger collaborations where I anticipate African governments, US government, GIZ from Germany, many of the development agencies looking to partner in a project that is truly what we call a nexus, a food, energy, water, climate, jobs, justice nexus. So I'm very excited to be part of this project. I've been honored by Bellona since the early days to be a supporter, but now I'm really expecting to see the business side of this absolutely taking off. So thank you all for the time, and just give one round of congratulations to this amazing team you heard talking.
Thank you, Professor Dan, and enjoy that cherry tomato, as we all did earlier this day. So just to wrap up real quick, thank you, Mr. Katzel, Benjamin, Frederick, Professor Dan, for such an inspiring presentations and quite sound and technical, thorough and technical presentations as well. If you have any questions, or if you want to find out more, you can visit bellona.org or saharaforestproject.com. Thank you.